What's good, guys? Today we're going to be debunking some Titanic TikTok conspiracy theories.
What if I told you the Titanic never sank?
And there's a lot of them out there.
The Titanic never actually sank.
This ship did not go down by an iceberg or by accident.
This is going to be fun. Let's go. What is up, Titanic nerds? It's Raph, the Titanic guy Avila, and here on my channel we talk about the Titanic, disasters, and other historical events, so if you're into that, consider subscribing. Okay, first of all, I know I'm sitting on the floor, and this room is kind of, not even put together, but there's been a lot of things going on. I know I've taken a break. Number one, I married my wife this past summer, and then we also bought a condo, so we're still getting everything set up, but at least I got my cool Titanic poster back there. Okay, we got that out of the way. Okay, so today I want to talk about TikTok.
Yeah, he's a pilot, great!
You're done. You're done.
Oh yeah, TikTok. I know you guys are probably on TikTok, and you guys probably follow me on TikTok. That's where I got the majority of my followers. And honestly, I love TikTok. I think TikTok is a really cool platform, and a lot of people are sharing really cool information, making really, really good content. Like, I honestly feel like I've learned more on TikTok than I have in school. They're really good content creators. That being said, there's also a lot of really crappy content on there. For some reason, the algorithm really loves conspiracy sort of TikToks, and there's a lot of accounts on there that dedicate their channel to just talking about different conspiracy theories that they've either heard about or read about, and all of these theories tend to go viral. And recently there's been a lot of Titanic conspiracy theories. So what I want to do today is we're going to take a look at some of the most viral Titanic conspiracy TikToks, and we're going to debunk them. We're going to go through them point by point, and I will tell you why it makes absolutely no sense. Okay, so pretty much all these videos that we're going to see have to do with the Titanic Olympic switch theory. Now, if you've never heard of this theory before, we're going to take a look at this first TikTok and we're going to see what the theory claims. Okay.
What if I told you the Titanic never sank? What? So the owner of the boat, JP Morgan, actually had two boats. He had the Titanic and he had the Olympic. And the Olympic was a little bit older and a little bit more run down, and it was also in some accident.
Okay.
So the theory is that JP Morgan sank the boat on purpose because he knew he would get a lot of money.
What?
He did it for the insurance money, right? But why sink the newly built Titanic when you could scratch off the paint, swap the names, and sink the Olympic instead?
He just painted the word Titanic over the Olympic?
It gets worse. Guess who was on that boat?
Who? I know there's a lot of people on the boat.
All of JP Morgan's business competitors.
What?
And not one of them made it out.
Oh my god.
But guess who wasn't on the boat?
Who?
JP Morgan.
Was he supposed to be?
He canceled minutes before it left.
Because he knew it was gonna sink.
And there was a guy named James Fenton, right, who survived and worked on the boat. And on his deathbed, his last words were, "The Titanic never sank. It was the Olympic."
Wait, what?
And he said that if he said anything, something bad would happen to him.
So what you're trying to say is the movie Titanic's actually called the Olympic.
Exactly.
Bruh. Okay, so let's take a look at each one of these points. I'm going to take them at face value, and we're going to look at the actual facts to see how they square up, okay?
What if I told you the Titanic never sank?
Okay, well, you'd be lying. Let's carry on.
So the owner of the boat, JP Morgan, actually had two boats. He had the Titanic and he had the Olympic.
All right, well, at least this part is true. There was the Olympic and there was a Titanic.
And the Olympic was a little bit older and a little bit more run down.
That's true, but I mean, the Olympic was only a year old.
And it was also in some accident.
Again, I'll give them that. That one is actually true. The RMS Olympic did in fact collide with the HMS Hawk in September of 1911, so we're good so far.
So the theory is that JP Morgan sank the boat on purpose because he knew he would get a lot of money.
What?
He did it for the insurance money.
Ooh, okay, see, this here is where the whole theory falls apart, because JP Morgan would not, in fact, be making a lot of money. He'd be losing a lot of money. Now, the reason why was because the Titanic was actually underinsured. The theory claims that the White Star Line sank the Olympic on purpose and then claimed Titanic's insurance in order to get the payout. Now, that doesn't make any sense, because if you look at the paperwork that is available, we can actually see that information today. We'll see that the Titanic was only insured up to $5 million. The Titanic and the Olympic both cost $7.5 million each to build. So in order to sink the Olympic and then claim Titanic's insurance of $5 million, they'd actually be losing, what, $2.5 million? The whole theory on its face falls apart right here. It just doesn't make any sense. There's no motivation to sink the ship on purpose. And that's assuming that they could do it and switch it successfully, which we're going to see they wouldn't be able to. The other point that the theorists make is that Olympics repairs were so much money that it would have made just more sense to sink the ship. But the truth is that the Olympics repairs cost no more than $125,000. So in the grand scheme of things, that's not really a lot of money. Definitely didn't warrant sinking a ship on purpose and losing another $2.5 million. Let's carry on.
Right, but why sink the newly built Titanic when you could scratch off the paint, swap the names, and sink the Olympic instead?
He just painted the word Titanic over the Olympic?
Okay, well, you actually can't just swap the nameplates because even though the Olympic and the Titanic were sister ships, they were not identical. There were significant structural differences which would have been very noticeable had you had switched the ships. For example, let's take a look at the A-deck promenade. If you notice here on the Olympic, the A-deck promenade was open the entire length, while on the Titanic, it was closed at the front and then open at the back. If we look at the wreck today, the wreck matches Titanic's A-deck promenade exactly. Another very noticeable example to point out is Titanic and Olympic's wheelhouse. On the Olympic, the wheelhouse was curved, while on the Titanic, it was flat. If you look at the wreck, you can clearly see Titanic's flat wheelhouse. Honestly, I have a whole list of aesthetic differences. I could go on forever. B-deck was drastically different on both ships. The windows were different. Titanic had an extended enclosure aft on C-deck. Titanic was 4 inches longer than the Olympic. There were a lot of very noticeable differences. You can't just switch the nameplates and pass the Olympic as a Titanic and vice versa. You can't do that. People would have noticed.
It gets worse. Guess who was on that boat?
Who? I know there's a lot of people on the boat.
All of JP Morgan's business competitors.
What?
And not one of them made it out.
Oh my god.
Okay, this claim was very strange because it was a straight up lie. I've never heard anybody say that these gentlemen were business competitors. He's talking about Benjamin Guggenheim, Isidor Straus, and John Jacob Astor. They were not business competitors whatsoever to JP Morgan. They weren't even in the same industry. These 3 particular gentlemen are actually at the center of another conspiracy theory. That's the Federal Reserve theory, but maybe I'll do that in another video. Okay, but that claim is literally just made up.
But guess who wasn't on the boat?
Who?
JP Morgan.
Was he supposed to be?
He canceled minutes before it left.
Because he knew it was going to sink.
Okay, this claim that JP Morgan canceled minutes before sinking, that one is also super false. It is true that JP Morgan was originally going to go on the Titanic, but it was very well documented that he changed his plans at least a month in advance to meet with his art dealer in France. It was very public information. It wasn't kind of like a secret thing that got out eventually and then that he intentionally missed the ship. No, his plans changed because of business. So he definitely didn't do anything sketchy and cancel last second like I've seen people on TikTok saying.
And there was a guy named James Fenton, right, who survived and worked on the boat. And on his deathbed, his last words were, "The Titanic never sank. It was the Olympic."
Wait, what?
And he said that if he said anything, something bad would happen to him.
Okay, now this man that they mentioned, James Fenton, he was never on the Titanic. There's absolutely no record of him on any passenger list or crew list. There's no record of him on the Titanic. He was never on the Titanic. This is also made up. And in fact, this whole idea that James Fenton gave a confession, it actually comes from a man named Frank Finch, who was a retired seaman living in New South Wales, Australia. And basically, he wrote a letter to a newspaper called the Northern Star. It was published in 1996, and it was written in response to an article previously published on the switch theory. And essentially, this letter paraphrases what his son Dennis recalled from a conversation that he had in the early 1970s with an old sailor named James Fenton, also known as Paddy Fenton or Paddy the Pig. So long story short, this whole rumor came from a letter written by somebody saying that somebody told him that this James Fenton person made this confession. So it didn't even come from, a primary source. It's kind of like broken telephone. Not only is the source not credible, there's no evidence to back up the non-credible claim. So James Fenton was most certainly not on the Titanic. Now, aside from all the facts and evidence that we've analyzed so far, I think the final nail in the coffin for this switch theory is the shipyard number. Now, every ship was given its own shipyard number. Titanic's number was 401 and the Olympic's was 400. Now, these shipyard numbers would have been on basically every major piece of the ship. It would have been on the propellers. It would have been in the woodwork. It would have been everywhere. It was essentially like the fingerprint of the ship. Now, every single piece of wreckage found in the wreck today contains that 401 number. It corresponds with Titanic's 401 number. Not a single time has any piece of wreckage been found with the 400 number, and vice versa as well. Every single piece of the Olympic artifacts that still remain today have that 400 number. So there's basically no evidence that shows that the Olympic was switched and is actually the ship at the bottom of the ocean. It just doesn't make any sense. It's not plausible.
So what you're trying to say is the movie Titanic is actually called the Olympic.
Exactly.
Okay. Dude, it's actually crazy how viral this video went. I think it got like 50 million views or something. I'm trying to find the original video. Holy crap. Okay, the video actually has 85.5 million views. This is crazy. I remember getting tagged in this on TikTok. Every single person was tagging me in this. I made a response video, which mine went pretty viral too. It got like 3 million views. And the worst part is that a lot of these people watching the video, they're younger people, so they're pretty impressionable. So now we're getting a whole generation of new kids that are literally growing up thinking that the Titanic and the Olympic were switched and it was actually the Olympic on the bottom of the ocean floor. It's nuts. Moving on to the next video, let's see what this person has to say.
The Titanic never actually sank, according to this theory. So the theory is the company that created the Titanic also had other boats, and one of their boats was called the Olympic. And supposedly, the Olympic had a couple collisions and it was on its last leg. So before the Titanic set sail, they switched ships. So basically, they put the Titanic logo on the Olympic because they knew it was going to sink, and that was so they could collect the insurance money. The Olympic had 16 portholes and the Titanic had 14 portholes. Here's a picture of the Titanic setting sail, and as you can see, there are 16 portholes on the side. James Cameron went to look for the Titanic wreckage while shooting the movie. He took a bunch of footage and photos and caught this picture of the Titanic. When you zoom in on the side, you can see a big letter M and P. Around that time of the Titanic, there was a big coal strike, thousands of people out of work, yet no one wanted to work on the ship due to rumors going around town. Most of the rich people who got invited to the Titanic didn't even show up. J.P. Morgan had a ticket and decided not to go. On the day the Titanic sank, the New York Times spotted J.P. Morgan out with his girlfriend at a restaurant. So let me know what you think.
Okay, so this video makes a lot of the same claims, pretty much that the ships were switched, the Olympic was sunk on purpose in order to claim Titanic's insurance.
So basically, they put the Titanic logo on the Olympic because they knew it was going to sink, and that was so they could collect the insurance money.
So we've already established that that theory makes no sense because Titanic was underinsured.
The Olympic had 16 portholes and the Titanic had 14 portholes. Here's a picture of the Titanic setting sail, and as you can see, there are 16 portholes on the side.
Now, this dude does bring up another point that people often bring up as proof that the ships are switched, and it was about the portholes. So he says that the Titanic had 14 portholes on sea deck while the Olympic had 16 portholes, and they show a picture here. Now, it is in fact true that the Titanic was originally launched with 14 portholes in May of 1911. That is true. However, based on feedback from the Olympic's crew, during construction of the Titanic, they decided to add 2 more portholes. We can see the difference here. This is the Titanic on the 31st of May, 1911 with, as you can see, only 14 portholes. Then during the construction, while she was still being fitted out, they decided to add 2 more portholes. So by April of 1912, the Titanic had 16 portholes, the same as the Olympic. So both ships had 16 portholes by April 1912. That's why if you go down to the wreck, you will see 16 portholes. Not because it's the Olympic.
When you zoom in on the side, you can see a big letter M and P.
Now, this claim is interesting. So they claim that there is an MP found on the wreck today, which would stand for Olympic, proving that it's actually the Olympics nameplate on the wreck today. The problem is that it's not true. And the MP is completely faked. The image is like photoshopped. It's super obviously photoshopped. Now, this particular claim began when a man named Robin Gardner stated in his book that when the name of the bow of the Titanic wreck was cleared of rust, the raised letters M, P, and Y were visible. However, at the time, he doesn't show any proof of this. Then later, there was this documentary that came out called Titanic: The Shocking Truth, where they show that particular image that we saw.
With the passage of time, 2 of the letters have dropped off and been lost forever in the sediment of the seabed. At the place where they once were, engraved into the hull, are the letters M and P.
Many people have analyzed the image, and within like 2 seconds, they can tell that it has been tampered with. It's a fake image. And then later, Gardner, the person who started the rumor, he eventually admitted that the image was fake. Not to mention that we have a lot of footage of the actual Titanic nameplate, which shows Titanic on the wreck today. As you can see, this is some footage. We can see the imprints of the name Titanic on the wreck on the bottom of the ocean floor. So that claim makes no sense. The Olympic is not written on the wreck today.
So let me know what you think.
Okay, and then we got one more video. I mean, honestly, I could go on forever. There's so many videos, but I'm just going off the ones that got the most viral. So let's take a look at this one.
So we all know this ship, right? And if you didn't then, you definitely know now. I'll never let go, Jack. If you guessed Titanic, you may be wrong. What if I were to tell you that this ship did not go down by an iceberg or by accident? Did you know that Titanic had a sister ship named the Olympic? It was a lot older and had a lot more damages to it. A big difference between the two are the portholes on the sea deck.
Okay, well, first of all, the image she's using is pointing to A deck, not C deck, so.
The Titanic has 16 while the Olympic has 14.
And secondly, she actually gets the theory wrong. Normally, the theorists claim that the Titanic had 14 and the Olympic had 16 portholes. But as we just talked about, the Titanic was launched with 14, and then 2 more portholes were added during construction. So by April, both ships had 16.
But when we go under to take a closer look, it's not only inaccurate, but the entire exterior relates to the Olympic.
Okay, so now she's using this meme to prove that everything on the wreck relates to the Olympic. The only problem is that it doesn't. So basically, the photo of the wreck is correct, but in this meme, the photograph that they claim is of the actual Titanic is not. It's of the Olympic. And the Olympic in this picture is actually the Titanic. So the one that matches the wreck. So basically, the wreck and the Titanic, they match. Okay, so I can show you here in this image. In reality, Titanic's starboard B-deck windows were more narrow than that of the Olympics. Because on the Titanic, these areas had been converted into 2 private verandas and suites. So here is the actual documented photograph of Titanic's starboard forward B-deck. And if we compare this picture of the Titanic with the picture of the wreck, you're gonna see that the windows match up exactly. You can quite clearly see that the B-deck forward starboard windows are narrow, matching the wreck identically.
They also noticed the letters OL.
Okay, again, she gets a theory wrong on this one. They claim that it's an MP, as we saw in the previous video, not an OL, and I already told you that that was a fake image.
To make things even crazier, a retired Titanic sailor on his deathbed made the confession that they switched the boats. He claimed the reason why he waited so long was because the government made threats to all of them.
And finally, James Fenton, our good friend James Fenton, makes an appearance once again. Yeah, James Fenton was not on the Titanic.
Coming up, I'm going to be talking to you about why they may have sunk the ship. And to those that want to call this a conspiracy theory, remember that the CIA came up with that term to deter people. Also, remember that they work right alongside everyone else in Hollywood.
Okay, that is it. Holy crap, it has been a journey. In conclusion, guys, whenever you're on TikTok, take every piece of information with a grain of salt, including my own. If you see something, just do 5 seconds of research. Just type something into Google. Google is free. We literally live in an age where we have access to all the information at the tip of our fingers, but I feel like we're losing. We're getting dumber. But anyway, it is my sincere goal to try to clear things up with the Titanic. I don't like using the term conspiracy theory. I feel like the term conspiracy is just tossed around so much. But when you are given a theory and we can see the actual facts, and they disprove the theory, and you still believe in the theory, then at that point, I'm comfortable calling that a conspiracy theory. So what I hope to have proven to you guys is that this Olympic Titanic switch theory is exactly that, is a conspiracy theory. So the next time somebody tries to go and tell you, hey, you know what, that's actually the Olympic at the bottom of the ocean, just say no. It's very easy to remember. The top 3 points to debunk this are: number 1, Titanic was underinsured. They wouldn't get any insurance benefits. Number 2, the structures were different, so it would have been impossible to just change the nameplates. And number 3, the shipyard number. Titanic 401, Olympics was 400. In all of the wreckage, you find that 401 number, Titanic's number. Holy crap, I'm sweating. This light is really hot. We've talked for a really, really long time. That was super fun to do. And guys, if you have any more ideas or you have heard of any other Titanic conspiracy theories or Titanic TikToks, send them to me and I would love to make a video about that and we'll clear some stuff up. If you want more Titanic content, I suggest taking a look at that playlist. There's a whole compilation of various Titanic facts. Make sure to follow me on TikTok, on my Instagram, and don't forget to cop some Titanic Guy merch. We got a lot of really cool stuff on there, including this super sweet mug. Anyway, guys, let me know down in the comments what you thought of this video. Did I do a good job? Have you heard of other conspiracy theories that you would like me to debunk? And what is the weirdest Titanic theory that you've heard? Let me know down there. Guys, if you like this video and you learned something new today, don't forget to drop a like and to subscribe to my channel so we can keep on growing. Okay, that's pretty much it for me. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.